Before we begin, if you enjoy calm journeys through space and stories that help you slow down, gently unwind, and fall asleep, consider subscribing to the channel. It helps this quiet corner of the universe continue to grow, and it lets you return whenever you need a moment of stillness. Now, take a slow breath in and let it out. Tonight, we are not rushing anywhere. There is no destination you need to reach, no conclusion you need to hold on to. Instead, we are going to rest inside a single, simple question, one that humans have wondered about for as long as we have looked up at the night sky. Where is everything in the universe going? As you lie here listening, the earth beneath you is already moving, spinning gently, circling the sun, drifting with billions of other stars around the center of the Milky Way. And beyond that, the galaxy itself is moving, carried along with countless others, all embedded in the slow, silent expansion of space. Nothing in the universe is truly still, yet this motion is so smooth, so gradual, that it feels like calm rather than chaos. In this journey, we will explore that motion together, not with urgency or alarm, but with patience. We will move outward from our quiet place in the cosmos, watch galaxies drift apart, feel the subtle pull of dark energy, and imagine the far future where space grows wider, colder, and more peaceful. There is nothing here you need to memorize, nothing you need to solve. Just allow the story of the universe to unfold, slowly, gently, like distant starlight arriving after a very long journey. And as everything in the universe continues its endless drift, you are free to rest, carried softly along with it. Chapter 1. The universe begins to move. Long before galaxies formed their graceful spirals, before stars learned how to burn with steady light, before planets found their orbits and time learned how to count itself, the universe was already in motion. Not motion through space, but motion of space itself. In those earliest moments, there was no empty backdrop waiting to be filled. There was no vast darkness sprinkled with stars. Space was not a stage, it was the story. The universe began not as an explosion throwing matter outward into nothingness, but as a quiet unfolding, everywhere at once. Space itself expanded, stretching gently, creating distance where no distance had existed before. There was no center to this beginning, no single point you could return to and say, "Here is where it all started." From every location, the universe looked the same. From every perspective, space was growing. A useful image is a simple one. Imagine tiny dots drawn across the surface of a balloon. As the balloon inflates, each dot moves farther from every other dot. No dot is special. No dot sits at the center. From any dot's point of view, all the others appear to be drifting away. This is how the universe expands. Galaxies are not racing through space like debris from an explosion. They are not propelled by momentum from a distant past. Instead, they are carried, gently, inevitably, by the stretching of the space beneath them. From our place inside the Milky Way, this motion is imperceptible. The Earth feels still beneath your body. The sun feels constant in the sky. The stars appear fixed, eternal. Gravity binds us tightly. It holds the Earth to the sun to the galaxy, and nearby galaxies to one another. On these scales, expansion is irrelevant. It is too subtle, too patient, too weak to overcome closeness. But as distance increases, the universe reveals its deeper rhythm. Far beyond our galactic neighborhood, space begins to assert itself. The farther away a galaxy lies, the faster it appears to move away from us. Not because it accelerates through space, but because there is simply more space growing between us and it. This relationship is gentle and consistent, like a rule the universe follows without exception. Astronomers first noticed this motion by listening to light itself. Light travels as a wave, and as it moves through expanding space, those waves are slowly stretched. Their colors shift toward the red end of the spectrum, becoming longer, softer, less energetic. This redshift is not dramatic. It does not flash or flare. It arrives quietly, a subtle signature written into ancient starlight. Every distant galaxy tells the same story. The universe is growing, and it has been doing so for nearly 14 billion years. In the earliest instance after the beginning, expansion was rapid, space itself swelling faster than light could cross it. But even then, there was no chaos in the human sense. The universe cooled as it expanded, energy spread out. Matter condensed slowly, patiently, following the quiet instructions of physics. Particles formed, atoms assembled, gravity traced invisible pathways through space. Over immense spans of time, these pathways gathered matter into clouds, clouds into stars, stars into galaxies. Structure emerged, not in spite of expansion, but within it. And through all of this, through every birth and transformation, space never stopped growing. It did not pause once galaxies appeared. It did not slow because stars ignited. It did not hesitate for life to arrive. Expansion is not a phase the universe passes through. It is a condition of existence. Even now, as you listen, space continues to stretch. Between galaxies, distances increase. Between clusters, the voids widen. The universe quietly makes room for itself. This motion is not driven by intent. There is no cosmic goal being pursued, no destination waiting at the end of expansion. The universe is not trying to get somewhere. It is simply following its nature, a nature that allows openness, a nature that favors distance, a nature that does not cling. There is something deeply calm about this. Nothing is being torn away. Nothing is fleeing. Nothing is lost in panic. The universe expands, the way breath expands the lung, slowly, naturally, without urgency. As this chapter of motion continues, an important realization settles in. The universe is not flying apart. It is making space. Space for galaxies to drift. Space for stars to shine and fade. Space for time to unfold without pressure. And in that widening calm, a new question quietly emerges. If space keeps expanding, if distance keeps growing, what happens to the galaxies carried within it? What happens to their relationships, their light, their ability to remain connected? That question does not arrive suddenly. It waits patiently, just beyond the horizon of this first understanding. And as we drift forward, following the universe at its own unhurried pace, we begin to turn our attention outward, toward the galaxies themselves, and the long, silent journeys they are already taking. Chapter 2. The Long Drift of Galaxies. As space continues to make room for itself, the galaxies within it begin their long, silent drift. From a distance, galaxies appear like calm islands of light, spirals traced with pale arms, elliptical glows without edges, soft clouds of stars floating in darkness. They feel permanent, anchored, as if they have always been there and always will be. But galaxies are not fixed points. They are travelers, not through space, but with it. If you could step far beyond the Milky Way, and watch the universe unfold over immense stretches of time, you would not see frantic motion. You would not see collisions everywhere or stars being flung outward. You would see patience. Nearby galaxies remain close. They turn slowly around one another, bound by gravity in quiet orbits that last billions of years. Some will eventually merge, their stars blending into larger, calmer structures. The Milky Way itself is part of such a small neighborhood. Along with Andromeda and dozens of smaller companions, it forms what is known as the local group. Here, expansion has little authority. Gravity still holds sway. Andromeda is not drifting away from us. It is slowly approaching, drawn closer by mutual attraction. Billions of years from now, the two galaxies will merge into a single, vast system of stars. Not violently, but gently, as their structures slowly interweave. This is an important detail. Expansion does not overpower everything. It does not tear apart what is close. On small scales, gravity wins. Planets remain bound to stars. Stars remain bound to galaxies. Galaxies within groups and clusters remain together, at least for a very long time. But as we widen our view, the balance begins to shift. Beyond small groups lie clusters, collections of hundreds or thousands of galaxies, held together by shared gravity and vast reservoirs of dark matter. These clusters are massive, and for now, they resist the expansion of space. Yet even clusters are not immune. Between clusters lie enormous regions of emptiness, cosmic voids spanning tens of millions of light-years, where matter is sparse and gravity is weak. Here, expansion speaks more clearly. As distance increases, gravity's pull fades. The space between galaxies grows faster than their attraction can respond. Galaxies begin to drift apart, not with speed you could ever feel, not with urgency, but with inevitability. From our perspective, the pattern is simple. The farther away a galaxy is, the faster it appears to recede from us. This is not because it accelerates like a rocket, but because there is more expanding space between us and it. From another galaxy, the same pattern appears again. There is no preferred observer, no central vantage point. Every galaxy sees the same universe unfolding around it. This symmetry is one of the quiet beauties of cosmology. No place is special. No direction is privileged. The universe expands evenly, without favor. As time passes, the consequences of this become profound. Galaxies that are now visible, their light traveling millions or billions of years to reach us, will not remain visible forever. Light has a speed limit, and expansion, patient as it is, can eventually outrun even light itself. There comes a distance beyond which light, emitted today, will never reach us. Not because it slows down, not because it fades, but because the space ahead of it keeps growing. This creates a kind of horizon. Not an edge of the universe, but an edge of connection. Beyond this horizon, galaxies still exist. They still form stars. They still evolve, but they are no longer part of our observable story. Their light stretches longer and longer as it travels, its energy thinning, its colors sliding toward invisibility, until it blends into darkness. From within any galaxy, the universe will slowly appear emptier. Not suddenly, not dramatically. One by one, distant galaxies fade. First, the farthest clusters disappear, then nearer ones. Eventually, only the local group remains. To observers living far in the future, the night sky will look profoundly different. There will be no vast tapestry of galaxies, no deep cosmic background, no evidence of a larger universe beyond their own galactic home, not because the universe has shrunk, but because connection has. Each galaxy becomes an island universe, a self-contained realm of stars, planets, and memory, surrounded by darkness too vast to cross. This isolation is not violent. It is not the result of destruction. It is the result of distance. Space has simply grown too wide, and yet, inside each island, life continues, at least for a time. Stars continue to form from remaining clouds of gas. Nebulae glow softly. Planets circle quietly. The universe does not rush its changes. It allows every phase to linger. Even as galaxies drift apart, their internal rhythms remain steady. Black holes sleep at galactic centers, occasionally stirring when a star wanders too close. Stellar populations age gracefully, blue stars giving way to red, brightness softening over time. The drift does not interrupt these processes. It only frames them. And beneath this long separation, a deeper influence quietly shapes the pace of everything. Galaxies are not merely drifting because expansion exists. They are drifting faster over time. Something is encouraging space to stretch more quickly as the universe grows older. This influence does not pull galaxies apart directly. It does not act on matter in familiar ways. Instead, it works on space itself. Subtle, persistent, unavoidable. As the universe grows larger and emptier, this influence becomes more important, more dominant, more decisive. To understand where the long drift of galaxies ultimately leads, we must listen for this quiet push. A force without form, a presence without shape. It waits beneath the motion we can see, guiding the universe's future with extraordinary patience. And it is there, in that unseen influence, that our journey continues next. Chapter 3. The Quiet Push of Dark Energy. Beneath the slow drift of galaxies, beneath the steady stretching of space itself, there is an influence that cannot be seen, cannot be touched, and does not announce itself with force. It leaves no tracks. It casts no shadow. It does not glow or gather, and yet it shapes the future of everything. This influence is called dark energy. The name suggests mystery, but not because it is hostile or hidden by intention. It is called dark simply because it does not behave like anything else we know. It does not act on matter directly. It does not pull objects together or push them apart in the familiar way forces do. Instead, dark energy works on space itself. For a long time, scientists believed that the expansion of the universe must be slowing down. Gravity, after all, is attractive. With enough matter spread through space, it seemed natural that expansion would gradually weaken, perhaps even reverse, drawing everything back together. But the universe told a different story. When astronomers observed distant galaxies in detail, measuring how their light had changed over billions of years, they discovered something unexpected. The expansion was not slowing, it was accelerating. Not suddenly, not violently, gently, persistently. As if the universe, after taking its first long breath, had decided to keep exhaling a little more each moment. This realization changed our understanding of cosmic motion. Dark energy is not concentrated in stars or galaxies. It does not gather in clusters. It does not weaken with distance. It exists everywhere that space exists. Every empty region of the universe carries it. And as the universe expands, there is more space. and therefore more dark energy. This creates a quiet imbalance. Gravity grows weaker as matter spreads out. Dark energy, tied to space itself, does not thin in the same way. Over time, dark energy becomes dominant, not because it grows stronger, but because everything else fades. This dominance is subtle. On small scales, dark energy is irrelevant. It does not tear atoms apart. It does not loosen planets from their orbits. It does not pull stars away from galaxies. Dark energy respects closeness. It only becomes noticeable across vast, empty distances, where gravity has little reach. Imagine standing in a wide, silent field. There is no wind you can feel, no sound you can hear, yet slowly, imperceptibly, the ground beneath you begins to expand, not in waves, not in cracks, but evenly, everywhere at once. That is how dark energy moves the universe. It does not disturb local structures. It does not create chaos. It simply encourages space to grow more quickly with time. Because of this, the future of the universe becomes clearer. Expansion will not slow down. It will not pause. It will not turn around. It will continue, quietly accelerating, making distances grow larger, connections fewer. Over billions of years, galaxies drift beyond one another's horizons. Light grows weaker as it travels. The observable universe shrinks, even as the universe itself grows. This acceleration does not feel dramatic from within. There are no moments you could point to and say, "Here is where everything changed." Change arrives, gently, layer by layer, across timescales too large for urgency. The universe does not rush toward an ending. It does not collapse or tear itself apart. It opens. More space, more distance, more quiet. As dark energy continues its steady influence, the cosmos becomes simpler, structure becomes rare, complexity fades slowly. The great networks of galaxies thin and dissolve, not through destruction, but through separation. Dark energy does not erase matter, it isolates it. Each galaxy becomes its own island, each island drifting farther from all others, until connection itself becomes impossible. And still, nothing struggles. The universe does not resist this path. It does not attempt to preserve its earlier complexity. It allows itself to change. There is something deeply patient about this process. Dark energy does not hurry the universe forward. It does not push toward drama or conclusion. It simply keeps space open. And as space grows emptier, the pace of cosmic life slows. Star formation declines. Collisions become rare. Events stretch farther apart. The universe begins to settle into a quieter rhythm. This quiet is not absence. It is balance. A state where differences diminish, where energy spreads evenly, where nothing has reason to move urgently from one place to another. Dark energy guides the universe toward this calm without force, without intention, without awareness. It does not choose stillness. It allows it. As we drift deeper into this understanding, a realization emerges. The universe is not heading toward chaos. It is heading toward rest, not the rest of stopping, but the rest of equilibrium, a condition where motion exists, without tension. To follow this path further, we must look far ahead, beyond the age of galaxies, beyond the era of bright stars. We must imagine a universe where structure itself becomes rare and calm becomes the dominant state. That future, quiet, expansive, and patient, awaits us next. as the cosmos begins to truly grow still. Chapter 4. When the cosmos grows quiet. As dark energy continues its patient work, the universe enters a slower, softer era. Not an ending, but a thinning. The great structures that once defined the cosmos, vast clusters of galaxies, long filaments of light stretching across unimaginable distances, begin to loosen their hold on visibility. Nothing breaks apart. Nothing collapses in a moment of drama. Instead, space simply grows wider. From within any remaining galaxy, the universe begins to feel smaller, even as it grows larger. The most distant galaxies fade first. Their light, stretched thinner by expanding space, arrives weaker, redder, until it slips beyond what eyes or instruments can detect. What once felt infinite becomes limited, not by boundaries, but by reach. The cosmic web does not vanish. It moves beyond connection. Clusters that once dominated the sky drift past the horizon of observation. Superclusters, those immense gatherings of galaxies, lose their coherence, their members slipping away into separate futures. To an observer living far in this era, the universe appears simpler. There are fewer lights, fewer distant beacons. The night sky darkens. Not suddenly, but star by star, galaxy by galaxy. What remains is an island universe, a single galaxy, or perhaps the merged remnant of several, surrounded by darkness so deep it feels endless. Inside this island, life continues at its own unhurried pace. Stars are still born, but less often now. The raw material for creation, vast clouds of gas and dust, has grown sparse, spread thin by time and expansion. The bright blue stars disappear first. They always do, living fast and burning fiercely. They exhaust their fuel in only millions of years, leaving behind remnants that cool quietly. What remains are smaller stars, red dwarfs glowing faintly, patiently converting fuel into light. Over trillions of years, the universe learns to conserve itself. Black holes still reside at galactic centers, their gravity unwavering, their presence calm. But they feed less often now. With fewer stars wandering near, their dramatic flares become rare. They grow quiet, becoming monuments to an earlier, more energetic age. Time stretches. Moments lose urgency. The universe no longer feels busy. As space expands further, even the light within the island galaxy begins to thin. Stars grow farther apart. The sky darkens between them. What was once a dense tapestry of light becomes a sparse scattering. Eventually, new stars stop forming altogether, not because something breaks, but because conditions no longer align. Gas clouds disperse too widely. Temperatures equalize. Gravity lacks the concentration it once had. Creation becomes rare, then nearly impossible. What remains are stellar remnants. White dwarfs, slowly cooling, neutron stars spinning ever more quietly, black holes drifting through vast regions of emptiness. These objects do not vanish, they persist, but they no longer change the universe around them in visible ways. Energy continues to spread. Temperature differences diminish. The universe moves toward balance, a state where nothing has reason to flow from one place to another. This is not destruction. It is equilibrium, a condition where motion exists without contrast. From within this future, nothing feels dramatic. There are no final explosions, no collapse into darkness, just stillness growing deeper. The universe prefers long transitions. Even now, space continues to stretch. Even now, time continues to pass. Nothing ever truly stops. The cosmos becomes simple, sparse, cold, quiet. A place where complexity is a memory and calm is the dominant condition. And yet, this quiet is not empty. Particles still move, though rarely interacting. Radiation still exists, though faint and diffuse. The universe has not ended. It has settled. As we drift through this age, we begin to sense the final direction of all things. Not toward an event, not toward a moment of conclusion, but toward a state, a long, gentle settling into cosmic rest. Beyond this quiet era, there lies an even deeper calm, a future where not only stars, but structure itself becomes rare. That final stillness, patient and expansive, waits just ahead. Chapter 5. The long fade of everything. Beyond the quiet age of galaxies. Beyond the era when stars still glow faintly in scattered islands, the universe continues its slow journey, not toward an ending, but toward a deeper, more complete calm. This future is so distant that ordinary measures of time lose their meaning. Millions of years feel brief. Billions feel small, trillions pass like gentle breaths, and through it all, nothing rushes. By now, starlight has become rare. The smallest red stars, once the most patient objects in existence, have burned through their fuel. They did not flare or collapse dramatically, they simply dimmed, their light softening until it faded away, one by one. The last natural lanterns of the cosmos go dark. The night sky becomes deeper than any darkness we could imagine today. Not because something terrible has happened, but because light itself has completed its long work. What remains are remnants. White dwarfs, once the glowing cores of stars, continue to release stored heat. At first, they shine faintly. Then they cool further, slowly approaching the temperature of space itself. Neutron stars persist as dense, silent spheres, their rotations gradually slowing, their magnetic fields weakening with time. Black holes remain as well, vast concentrations of gravity, drifting through an ever-expanding universe. For a long while, they are the last dramatic objects left. But even black holes are not eternal. Over spans of time so long that the current age of the universe feels insignificant by comparison. Black holes slowly lose mass, not through collapse, not through explosion, but through a quiet, subtle process that allows energy to leak away. Particle by particle, they fade. Eventually, even these great wells of gravity become memory. As this happens, the universe grows simpler still. Energy spreads thinner and thinner. Temperature differences shrink. Heat no longer flows meaningfully, because there is nowhere cooler to go, nowhere warmer to come from. The universe approaches a state where everything is nearly the same everywhere. This is sometimes called heat death, not because something dies suddenly, but because contrast disappears. Change requires difference. Motion requires imbalance. When differences vanish, events become extraordinarily rare. This does not mean time stops. Time continues to pass, but nothing interesting happens quickly. The universe enters an age where patience becomes absolute. Particles drift through vast emptiness. Occasional interactions still occur, but they are separated by spans of time, longer than entire cosmic eras once were. The universe is not empty, it is diffuse, not silent, but quiet beyond urgency. Space continues to expand, carrying everything farther apart, making interactions even less likely. The cosmos becomes vast beyond imagination, filled mostly with nothing. Not an absence, but a gentle openness. There are no stars to mark place, no galaxies to define direction, no bright events to measure time by. Only duration, only continuation. From within this far future, there is no sense of loss. The universe does not mourn its past brightness. It does not attempt to recreate what once was. It simply remains. And in that remaining, there is a strange completeness. Nothing is unfinished. Nothing is waiting to happen. Everything that could spread has spread. Everything that could cool has cooled. Everything that could fade has faded. The universe rests, in the most literal sense, not asleep, not unconscious, just settled. This is not nothingness. It is balance. A state where motion still exists, but without tension, where time still flows, but without milestones, where existence continues, but without urgency or demand. The universe does not resist this future. It does not cling to complexity. It does not struggle to remain interesting. It accepts stillness, as naturally as it once allowed creation. And in understanding this long fade, a gentle realization emerges. The universe has never been moving toward disaster. It has never been rushing toward destruction. It has always been moving toward calm. Not the calm of stopping, but the calm of completion, a condition where nothing presses, nothing pulls, nothing insists. As we reach the end of this chapter, we are not standing at a cliff. We are drifting into quiet water. The universe continues, open and patient, long after light has finished its story. And beyond this deep calm, there is no final moment waiting, only continuation without struggle. A universe at rest, still expanding, still existing, without needing anything more. Chapter 6. Drifting Together. As the universe moves deeper into its unhurried future, a quiet truth becomes easier to feel than to explain. Nothing is being left behind. From the first instant of expansion to the farthest reaches of time that imagination can touch, everything that exists continues within the same unfolding motion. Not divided into separate destinies, not scattered into meaninglessness, but carried together, patiently, by the widening of space. The universe does not fracture into isolated stories. It does not abandon what it has been. It does not hurry to replace one era with another. It simply continues. This continuation is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is a drift so gentle that only enormous spans of time can reveal it. And yet, it includes everything. Every atom that once burned in a star, every particle that once carried warmth, every photon that once crossed a young universe full of light. None of these are lost. They are not expelled into nothingness. There is no outside for them to fall into. They remain within the universe, spread ever more thinly, like a breath released slowly into still air, until it becomes indistinguishable from the space around it. This is what it means to drift together. Even as galaxies grow isolated, even as stars fade and structure dissolves, belonging remains. Distance increases, but exclusion never appears. The universe does not choose to separate things. It allows space to open, without judgment, without preference, without intention. And in that allowance, there is an unexpected softness. In its earliest ages, the universe was defined by intensity. Energy was packed tightly. Temperatures were extreme. Change happened quickly, almost violently. Particles collided constantly. Light struggled to move freely. Matter and radiation competed for dominance. Then, slowly, expansion made room. As space widened, pressure eased. As density fell, interactions grew less frequent. The universe did not slow because it weakened. It slowed because it had space to breathe. Stars formed, but they did not form everywhere. Galaxies assembled, but they did not fill all space. Structure emerged only where conditions allowed it, and elsewhere, quiet emptiness remained. This balance, between presence and absence, has always guided cosmic motion. As time stretched longer, the universe learned how to be gentle. Bright events became rare. Collisions gave way to orbits. Outbursts softened into steady glows, and eventually, even those glows began to fade. What replaces them is not loss, but calm. From the perspective of the far future, nothing feels as though it has gone wrong. The universe does not experience itself as having declined. It does not remember its own brightness and feel diminished by comparison. Those are human ways of thinking. The universe has no nostalgia. It does not measure itself against what it once was. It simply exists in whatever state time has carried it into. And in that state, everything that has ever existed remains included. Even when stars no longer shine, their matter remains part of the whole. Even when galaxies no longer interact, their contents still drift within the same expanding space. Nothing is discarded. Nothing is erased. Forms change. Patterns dissolve. But existence continues. This is the deepest sense in which the universe drifts together. Not because everything stays close, but because nothing ever leaves the story. As expansion continues, distances grow so vast that encounters become almost unimaginably rare. Particles may travel for durations, longer than entire cosmic ages once were, without meeting anything else. Yet this solitude is not emptiness. It is openness. An openness so complete that nothing presses against anything else. Nothing demands reaction. Nothing forces change. This is calm without contrast. Not silence after noise, but a state where noise was never necessary. The universe does not arrive at this calm abruptly. It eases into it. Each era hands itself gently to the next. The age of radiation gives way to matter. The age of matter gives way to structure. The age of structure gives way to isolation. The age of isolation gives way to equilibrium. No door slams shut. No chapter is torn away. Everything fades softly, like light dimming at dusk. Drifting together also means that no single object carries the burden of time alone. No star is singled out. No particle is chosen for disappearance. Everything shares the same directionless continuation. There is no destination ahead, no final place the universe is trying to reach. Expansion does not lead somewhere. It simply goes on. And this going on does not require meaning to justify it. The universe does not ask why it should continue. It does not seek a reason. Existence persists because there is nothing preventing it from doing so. This is not purpose. It is allowance. As the universe grows emptier, it also grows more even. Extremes flatten, differences soften. The sharp edges of earlier eras are smoothed away by time. What remains is a gentle uniformity, not rigid, not frozen, but balanced. A state where motion still exists, yet nothing is driven to move quickly. This is equilibrium, a condition where change is possible, but unnecessary, where time flows, without needing to mark itself with events. From within this balance, the universe feels vast, but not overwhelming. There is no pressure to fill space with activity, no urgency to produce light, or structure, or meaning. Everything is allowed to simply be. And in this allowance, there is a profound kindness. The universe never demanded that complexity last forever. It never insisted on permanence. It allowed stars to shine and allowed them to fade. It allowed galaxies to gather and allowed them to drift apart. It allowed life to emerge and allowed time to carry it gently onward. Nothing was promised eternity. Nothing was denied its moment. Drifting together means that even as forms dissolve, they dissolve within continuity. There is no falling away into nothingness, only spreading, softening, settling. Space expands, time passes. Matter persists in quieter arrangements. That is enough. As this chapter comes to rest, we find ourselves aligned with the deepest rhythm of the cosmos, not striving, not arriving, not ending, simply continuing, patiently, effortlessly, within an endless, gentle unfolding. Everything drifts, and everything drifts. Chapter 7. Resting inside the motion. At a certain distance, not measured in space, but in understanding, the movement of the universe no longer feels like something to follow. It becomes something to rest within. By now, the great questions have softened, not because they were answered, but because they no longer press for attention. Where is everything going? What is the universe becoming? These questions still exist, but they no longer demand urgency. They drift the way everything else drifts, without insistence. The universe does not pause to consider its direction. It does not reflect on its future. It simply continues, one quiet moment flowing into the next. And within that continuation, there is space to rest. All through its history, motion has been the universe's constant companion. From the earliest expansion to the slow widening of empty space, nothing has ever been truly still. Yet this motion has never felt hurried. Even at its most energetic, the universe followed patient laws. Change happened because conditions allowed it, not because something pushed too hard. Now, in the far future, that patience becomes unmistakable. Events grow rare. Transitions stretch across immense spans of time. Moments widen. The universe feels less like a sequence of happenings, and more like a state of being. Inside this state, nothing needs to arrive anywhere. There is no final form waiting ahead. No moment where the universe becomes complete. Completion is not a destination, it is a condition. And that condition is calm. As space expands, it does not create emptiness in the human sense. It creates openness. An openness where nothing crowds anything else, where there is room for everything to exist without interference. This openness is not lonely. Loneliness requires absence. Here, there is only space, wide, neutral, unpressured. The universe does not seek companionship. It does not feel loss when connections fade. Those are experiences shaped by minds. The cosmos itself is content with continuation. Resting inside this motion means no longer needing to track every change. There are no milestones to watch for, no signals announcing the next era. Time flows evenly, without punctuation. Particles drift, fields fluctuate, space stretches, nothing interrupts. From within this gentle flow, motion feels almost like stillness, not because movement has stopped, but because nothing pushes against anything else. This is motion without friction, change without effort. The universe has learned how to move without disturbing itself. And in that lesson, there is a kind of wisdom, not a wisdom of intention or awareness, but a wisdom of balance. The universe does not cling to what it was. It does not attempt to preserve brightness or structure. It allows each form to exist, for as long as conditions support it, and then to fade, without resistance. Stars shine while fuel allows. Galaxies gather while gravity holds. Light travels while space permits. When those conditions change, the universe changes with them. There is no struggle in this process, only acceptance. To rest inside the motion is to recognize that nothing is being taken away unfairly. Everything is following the same rules. Everything is subject to the same patience. No object is singled out for loss. No era is denied its time. Even in the far future, when the universe appears quiet and sparse, existence continues. It continues without drama, without expectation, and that continuation is gentle. If you imagine awareness drifting within this future, it does not feel like watching something end. It feels like watching something settle, like water after a long ripple, finally becoming smooth again. Not because the water disappeared, but because it found its level. The universe finds its level, not once, but continuously. At every moment, conditions balance themselves as best they can. Expansion makes room, energy spreads, differences soften. This balancing act does not require effort. It happens because nothing prevents it, and because nothing resists it. The universe grows increasingly calm. There is no tension left to resolve, no instability demanding correction, just quiet persistence. Resting inside this motion also means letting go of the need to witness everything. The universe does not need observers to continue. It expanded before minds existed. It will expand long after they fade. Observation is not a requirement. Existence is enough. This realization does not diminish meaning. It softens it. Meaning no longer needs to be anchored to outcomes or destinations. It can exist as presence, as being, as participation in a larger rhythm that does not ask for understanding. The universe does not require comprehension to be complete, and neither do you. As the motion continues, awareness can loosen its grip, thoughts can slow, attention can widen, then soften. Time does not need to be measured. It does not need to be filled. It simply passes. This passing is not loss. It is flow. A flow so gentle that it feels like rest. And within that rest, nothing is missing. The universe is not waiting for something to happen next. It is not anticipating an ending. It is content to continue, exactly as it is. Space will keep expanding. Particles will keep drifting. Time will keep unfolding. And all of it will do so, without urgency. Resting inside the motion means accepting that continuation does not require effort. The universe does not push itself forward. It allows itself to unfold, and in aligning with that allowance, there is peace. Not the peace of silence after noise, but the peace of a rhythm that never needed noise at all. As this chapter comes to a close, there is nothing to prepare for, no next event to anticipate, no transition to watch for. Everything continues, calmly, patiently, without needing attention. And within that vast, gentle motion, you are free to rest. Chapter 8. A quiet place to let go. There comes a point in every long journey when movement no longer feels like progress, and distance no longer feels like something to cross. This is that point, not because the universe has reached an edge, and not because it has arrived at a final state, but because nothing remains that needs to be followed. The cosmos continues, as it always has, stretching gently outward, unconcerned with arrival or destination. But here, in this quiet place, there is no need to go with it any farther. All through its history, the universe has been generous with motion. It has allowed expansion, growth, collision, creation. And just as generously, it has allowed release. Release does not come suddenly. It does not announce itself. It does not demand attention. It simply becomes possible. At this stage of the universe, space has grown wide enough that nothing presses closely against anything else. There is room, not just between galaxies, but between events, between changes, between moments themselves. Time stretches until urgency dissolves. The universe is no longer defined by what happens within it, but by the openness that allows things to happen or not happen without consequence. Light still exists, but it is thin and scattered. Energy still moves, but so slowly and evenly that movement feels like rest. Particles drift through vast regions without encountering anything at all. This is not emptiness, it is spaciousness, a condition where nothing needs to assert itself to remain. And within this spaciousness, the idea of holding on loses its meaning. There is nothing to preserve, nothing to protect from time, nothing to anchor. Everything that could change has changed. Everything that could spread has spread. What remains is balance. The universe does not experience this as loss. It does not look back on its brighter eras with regret. Memory requires a mind. The cosmos carries no such burden. It simply exists in the present condition, whatever that condition happens to be. At this stage, the present is quiet, not silent in the sense of absence, but quiet in the sense of completion. Nothing is unfinished. Stars are no longer waiting to be born. Galaxies are no longer waiting to gather. Energy is no longer waiting to flow from one place to another. All waiting has ended, not because something has been fulfilled, but because nothing remains that requires fulfillment. The universe has let go of needing to become something else, and in that letting go, it has found its most stable form. Space continues to expand, but expansion no longer creates noticeable change. Distances grow, but nothing depends on closeness. Time continues to pass, but there are no milestones left to mark. Moments blend seamlessly into one another, indistinguishable except by their sequence. This is time without pressure, a gentle continuation that does not ask to be measured. In such a universe, the idea of an ending feels unnecessary. There is no final moment waiting ahead, no last event after which nothing happens. The universe does not conclude, it simply persists. And persistence, when freed from urgency, feels like rest. This is the quiet place, not a location in space, but a condition of being, a state where nothing resists change, and nothing demands it either, where existence continues without effort, where motion exists without disturbance. To let go here does not mean to disappear. It means to stop carrying, to stop anticipating, to stop following. The universe does not need witnesses. It does not need attention to validate its continuation. It existed before awareness, and it will exist after awareness fades. And in recognizing this, something softens. There is no responsibility left, no need to understand the future, no need to remember the past. The universe will continue, whether it is observed or not. And so, observation can gently release its hold. Awareness does not need to track expansion. It does not need to imagine distant eras. It can rest inside the present moment, however faint and unremarkable it may feel. Nothing is missing here. There is no sense of incompleteness, no tension waiting to be resolved. The universe is exactly as it needs to be, to continue without strain. This is not peace as an achievement. It is peace as a natural state, once striving has ended. Letting go, in this sense, is not an action. It is the absence of resistance. Just as space expands, because nothing stops it, stillness emerges, because nothing interrupts it. And here, in this wide, quiet condition, there is no need to follow the universe any longer. It will carry on, at its own pace, through durations too vast to imagine, without ever needing encouragement. Everything that exists is already included. Everything that will exist will arise or not, without pressure. The universe has no urgency left, and so, neither do you. This is the quiet place to let go. Not because the journey is over, but because there is nothing more that needs to be carried forward. The universe continues, and you are free to rest within that continuation, without effort, without expectation, without needing to go anywhere at all. Chapter 9. Beyond the Need to Know. There is a moment, deep within long journeys, when questions begin to soften, not because they have been answered, and not because they were unimportant, but because the need to ask them quietly dissolves. This is that moment. For as long as humans have looked into the night sky, we have asked where everything is going. We have searched for patterns, for destinations, for endings that might explain beginnings. We have imagined edges, final states, moments when the universe reveals its meaning, all at once. But the universe has never offered such moments. It does not pause to explain itself. It does not slow down to be understood. It does not shape its future around comprehension. It simply continues. And in that continuation, there is an invitation to let go of the need to know. Knowing, after all, is a response to uncertainty. It arises when something feels unresolved, when a gap demands to be filled. But here, in the far, patient future of the cosmos, there are no gaps left that matter, not because everything is clear, but because nothing requires clarity anymore. The universe does not ask why it expands. It does not ask where it is headed. It does not seek justification for persistence. It exists. Without explanation, this does not make it empty of meaning. It changes the nature of meaning itself. Meaning no longer needs to be extracted from outcomes or conclusions. It does not depend on destinations or endings. It exists in presence, in continuation, in allowance. As the universe grows quieter, as events become rare, and differences flatten, the urgency behind understanding fades. There is no crisis to solve, no instability to explain, no looming transformation waiting to be predicted. Everything that could change has already changed as much as it needs to. What remains is balance, a balance so deep that questions no longer serve a purpose, not because curiosity has failed, but because curiosity has nothing left to chase. This is not ignorance, it is rest, a state where the mind does not reach outward for resolution, because resolution is no longer required. In the earliest ages of the universe, knowledge mattered. Understanding conditions meant survival. Predicting motion meant safety. Knowing the environment meant control. But in the far future of the cosmos, control dissolves as a concept. There is nothing to manage, nothing to influence, nothing to correct. The universe does not require guidance. It is not drifting toward collapse that needs intervention. It is settling into equilibrium, and equilibrium does not ask questions. It simply holds. As galaxies disappear beyond horizons, as stars fade into memory, as even black holes complete their long, quiet evaporation, there is no sense of mystery left unresolved. Not because everything has been revealed, but because nothing remains hidden in a way that matters. Mystery itself changes character. It no longer feels like something missing. It feels like spaciousness, an openness where explanation would not add comfort, only noise. In this condition, the universe does not need to be known to be complete, and neither does experience. Awareness no longer needs to map reality, to feel at ease within it. The need to categorize, to label, to define. These impulses belong to eras of change and instability. When everything is moving quickly, understanding provides orientation. When everything is calm, orientation becomes unnecessary. The universe reaches a point where it does not require interpretation. It is content to exist without commentary. And in aligning with this state, awareness can also rest without explanation. Thoughts do not need to reach forward. They do not need to reconstruct the past or anticipate the future. They can soften into presence. Presence without purpose. Presence without demand. This is not emptiness. It is sufficiency. The universe is sufficient unto itself. It does not need to be justified by meaning or destination. It expands because nothing prevents expansion. It persists because nothing ends it. That is enough. And when this truth settles, the need to know loosens its grip. Questions may still appear, but they pass through awareness without urgency. They do not require answers. They do not insist on resolution. They are allowed to drift, just like everything else. Beyond the need to know, there is a quiet kind of freedom. Freedom from expectation. Freedom from explanation. Freedom from outcome. The universe does not promise insight. It does not offer revelation at the end of time. It offers continuity. And continuity, when accepted without resistance, feels like peace. In this peace, there is no pressure to hold reality together. Nothing depends on understanding. Nothing collapses without attention. The cosmos does not require witnesses to continue expanding. It existed before minds emerged. It will exist long after they fade. Observation is optional. Existence is not, and in recognizing this, something gentle happens. Awareness no longer feels responsible for meaning. It does not need to assign value or extract lessons. It can simply be. As space stretches into immeasurable distances, as time unfolds into durations without landmarks, the universe rests in its own way, not stopping, not concluding, just continuing. Beyond the need to know, there is nothing missing. There is no final truth waiting to be uncovered, no last insight required for completion. The universe is whole, without explanation, and within that wholeness, there is room for stillness, for rest, for letting curiosity soften into quiet presence. The universe continues, whether it is understood or not, and that, at last, is enough. Chapter 10. The same calm everywhere. In the deepest future of the universe, there is no special place left, no center to point toward, no edge to drift away from, no direction that carries more meaning than another. Everywhere becomes the same kind of quiet, not empty, not erased, but evenly calm. Space continues to expand, but expansion no longer changes how the universe feels from within. Distances grow, yet nothing depends on closeness anymore. Time flows, but without events to divide it into chapters, the universe enters an age where difference itself grows thin. In earlier eras, contrast defined everything: hot and cold, light and dark, dense and empty, fast and slow. These contrasts drove motion. They created stars, galaxies, energy flows, and change. But over unimaginable spans of time, contrast fades. Energy spreads evenly. Temperatures approach the same quiet value everywhere. Matter thins until it is nearly uniform across vast distances. Nothing pushes, nothing pulls. The universe does not freeze. It does not stop existing. It simply becomes even. This evenness is not monotony. It is balance without tension. Everywhere holds the same gentle condition. Every moment feels like the last and the next, not because time has stopped, but because nothing distinguishes one moment from another. The universe no longer tells stories through events. It tells them through duration. Long, uninterrupted stretches of calm, where change happens so slowly that it feels like rest. Particles still drift. Fields still fluctuate faintly. Space still stretches. But nothing rises above the background to demand attention. This is not emptiness in the human sense. Emptiness suggests absence. Here, there is presence, spread so evenly that no place stands out. The universe becomes a single, continuous condition, extending without variation in every direction. If you could exist anywhere in this future, your location would not matter. There would be no vantage point that reveals more than another, no horizon of importance, no region of privilege. Everywhere is the same calm. This sameness is not imposed. It is the natural outcome of patience. The universe did not strive to become this way. It did not aim for equilibrium. Equilibrium emerged because nothing prevented it. As expansion continued, differences softened. As energy spread, tension dissolved. The universe did not resist this process. It allowed itself to settle, and in settling, it found its most stable form. There is no final event that marks this transition. No moment you could circle and say, "Here This is where everything changed. Change happened continuously, so gradually that it never announced itself. The universe prefers such transitions. Even its most dramatic eras emerged softly when viewed from far enough away. Now, drama has faded entirely. What remains is persistence without urgency. Time continues, but it no longer feels directional. There is no sense of moving toward something. There is only continuation. This continuation does not require awareness. It does not require meaning. It happens because existence has nothing telling it to stop. In this future, there is no struggle for resources, no competition for energy, no accumulation or loss worth noting. Everything that could be spread has been spread. Everything that could be equalized has been equalized. The universe rests in a condition where nothing presses against anything else. And this rest is not fragile. It does not need to be maintained. It does not depend on balance being carefully preserved. It persists naturally because there are no forces left to disturb it significantly. If you imagine awareness within this state, not as a body, not as a mind with questions, but as simple presence, there is no discomfort. Nothing threatens. Nothing demands response. There is no need to orient yourself, because orientation has lost meaning. Up and down dissolve. Near and far become irrelevant. Before and after blur into continuity. This is calm without context. Not peace after conflict, but peace without the memory of conflict. The universe no longer contrasts itself with anything else. There is nothing else. It is complete. Not because it has reached a goal, but because it no longer needs one. Earlier, meaning was drawn from change, from growth, from becoming. Now, meaning, if the word still applies, is simply existence continuing. No justification, no explanation. The universe does not ask why it persists. It does not wonder whether it should continue expanding. It expands because nothing prevents expansion. It exists because nothing ends existence. That is the simplest truth, and simplicity, after enough time, becomes soothing. There is nothing left to solve, nothing left to fix, nothing left to arrive at. The universe does not conclude with a revelation. It does not reveal a hidden purpose. It simply remains. And in remaining, it becomes gentle everywhere at once. No matter where you imagine yourself, inside a remnant particle, within a faint field, or simply as awareness without form, the experience is the same, quiet, even, unpressured. This is the final symmetry of the cosmos. Not symmetry of shape or structure, but symmetry of condition. Everywhere shares the same calm. Every moment shares the same softness. Nothing is privileged. Nothing is excluded. The universe does not remember its beginning. It does not anticipate an ending. It exists in an endless present that changes so slowly, it feels timeless. And in this timelessness, there is no need to hold on to anything, no need to follow motion, no need to mark progress. Everything that could be done has already been allowed. The universe rests, not because it has stopped, but because it no longer needs to move quickly. This is not sleep, it is wakefulness without urgency, a state where existence is effortless. The same calm everywhere, the same softness forever unfolding. And within this vast, even quiet, nothing stands out enough to disturb the rest. The universe continues, patient, open, and complete in its own way, not ending, not arriving, simply being. drifting into rest. And now, there is nothing more to add. The universe will continue its slow expansion, space opening gently, time moving without urgency, long after this moment passes. You do not need to follow it any farther. All the motion we have spoken of, the drifting galaxies, the quiet push of dark energy, the long fade into calm, will carry on whether we watch it or not. And so, you are free to rest. Let the story dissolve into silence. Let the images soften and fade. Let your thoughts become lighter, less defined, less attached. There is nothing left to understand tonight. Nothing left to hold on to. The universe does not require attention. It does not need witnesses. It simply continues, patient, open, at peace with becoming quieter. As this journey comes to a close, allow yourself to settle into the same calm that fills the farthest reaches of space. Breathing slows. Awareness drifts. Time loosens its grip. The universe goes on, and you can finally let go. Good night.